Pull the string, pull the string!
Scoodly, wow, wow, wow.
Hi, Area Backstage.
M. Suggested for mature audiences. Parental discretion advised.
All these factors must be considered as we plan for the survival of our homes, our families, and our nation in the nuclear age.
Hi, I'm Anita, on location here at the Shoreline Amphitheater with Dale and Sean of the band Seether. I was wondering if you guys would tell me a little bit about your history. Where are you guys from? I know South Africa. How'd you guys meet, get together?
I was dating a girl, and her brother was in a band with Dale, so I went and watched that band a couple of times. And at the same time, I was starting. Excuse me. Same time, I was starting the first incarnation of this band, and I used to go watch his band play. And the one thing I noted about him playing was he would have a line of beers next to him that he would drink throughout the set, and I was like, that's my kind of guy. And funny enough, when I first met him, I didn't like him very much because I thought he was a spoiled little rich brat, and it was nothing he did. It was just, I guess I was just so jaded at the time. Anyway, so we never really hung out, and then our bassist quit our band, and I was like, well, we need a bassist now, so I got a hold of Dale because he was the only bassist I knew. And I knew that he liked to drink, and I knew that I liked to drink, and I like to play drunk, so it was like, this is the guy we need for the band. And we sent him 17 songs to learn, and he learned them we sent them to him on Monday, and Friday we had a show, and we played the songs, and he didn't make any cock-ups, so it was that's pretty much how we met. And then I think from then on we became inseparable as far as like, we'd go out and party, and like, we'd go to raves and drop ecstasy and be like, woo, you know. We'd take acid and cruise around and be like, everything's so amazing right now. So yeah, we were kids then, but we were like 19 and 20 back then. So it was like, you know, and that's pretty much, yeah. I mean, and now what we're sitting here 12 years later almost, I think. So it's been a good run, I guess, so far. Touch wood.
That's really cool. You bonded over booze. Yeah.
Doesn't everybody bond over booze?
Yeah, that's true. How do you guys, this is the grand finale show, right, for the Uproar Music Festival. How do you guys like the Bay so far?
I like San Francisco's been awesome. Every time we've been here, I remember the first time we came here, we were on Ozfest, and our RV was parked out in Sacramento, and we had a lawyer. Our lawyer at the time was like the only guy who was looking after us. We had no management or whatever, so he came and picked us up, and he drove us to San Francisco. And I remember coming over the bridge, and suddenly you come from like 85, 90 degrees Sacramento, and you drive into San Francisco, and it's like in the 50s, and it's all cloudy, and I'm like, man, this place is rad. And we end up sitting in a bar, and the next thing is like 30 or 40 people dressed in fancy dress come in, and it's like, I mean, people dressed like Elvis, and I was like, man, this is our first night in San Francisco. It's the best time of my life. So I've always actually been quite fond of the city, and I've always wanted to move here, but I now live out in the sticks, and I prefer the solitude of being in a forest. But it's always been interesting to come visit San Francisco. It's such a vibrant, so many different facets to it, and it's such an interesting city with the history of it. And I just think it's always just a really good time for us, you know. So it's fun to play here, and it's fun to party here. I tell you that much.
Oh, I'm touched. I'm born and raised in the Bay, so I totally agree with you. You feel the same way?
I do, yeah. Like Sean was saying, you know, all these people come in wearing these costumes, and we're like, whoa. I went up and actually spoke to someone. I said, you know, what are you guys celebrating? They're like, we just partying.
It's Tuesday.
And we're like, whoa. And then we headed down like Haight, you know, all the way down, went bar hopping down Haight Street, and it was great, you know, all the things you see in the movies, and you know, it was great, you know. Back then we basically just come over to the States. It was the first major tour we've done, so every time we went to these cities was the first time, and you know, it was so amazing, you know. I don't think we realistically thought we'd ever leave South Africa, even though we were desperately trying. But when it happened, it was pretty surreal. It was great, but it was just really cool to come to a city like that you've always been you've always heard about and seen on TV, and seen the car chases where the cars like fly over the jumps, and it's great. I mean, we grew up on very much on Americana sort of culture, sitcoms and old action, programming and movies and whatnot. So it was neat. It was very cool.
It's really cool. I'm glad this is the final stop because you guys have been on the road for about 2 or 3 months for the Uproar Music Festival with Avenged Sevenfold, Escape the Fate, Bullet for My Valentine, 3 Days Grace, who you've been on tour with before.
Yeah, many times.
So can I get some stories? I know there's been probably some hilarious or even horrifying interesting stories from being on the road, or do you guys play backgammon at night and just chill?
We're chess fanatics. We spend many of our evenings quietly sipping cognac, smoking a cigar while we play a game of chess.
You almost made it through. Almost made it through that one.
I was believing that.
Well, there really haven't been many stories from this tour. It hasn't been much of a... it's been a weird kind of tour. There haven't been a lot of bands hanging out with each other, and it's... sometimes it's just the way it works out, because I guess everyone's got different schedules or whatever it is. But I think, there's always something that happens on tours that are better left on tour, Yeah. It's, that's just, this one hasn't really been that eventful.
Would you agree with that? Or maybe he has a secret tour story that he might want to share that you guys don't know about.
It hasn't really been too wild. There's been a couple parties backstage, and those are sometimes pretty funny. Like, someone will end up wearing, something strange or very little, actually. In fact, that was a funny story. Some of the Bullet for My Valentine crew guys were playing up in Canada, and it was raining. We actually didn't get to play because it was raining up in Montreal, and they ran out during what was supposed to be our set with like those squeegee brooms. I don't know what you call them, but they ran out butt naked, and they're squeegeeing the stage in the freezing cold. So that didn't look cool at all. And so that was pretty funny. There's something funny about the male body naked, but yeah, it's I think tours in the past we've have been a little bit more raucous, but I think also that we're getting a little bit older now, and you learn how to pace yourself for the most part, pace yourself a little better, and kind of maybe not behave yourself more, but stay out of trouble a little bit more. So I think
mellow out.
I think get better at doing what you do.
That's cool. So let's talk about the music. Holding On to Strings Better Left to Fray, the 5th studio album. I just want to say I love the title. I got to tell you, I'm a big fan of the long titles. The more poetic, the better. And from what I understand, this is the title was from a song, a lyric from a song. Is that correct?
Actually, I came up with the title first, and then I put the title into the song, which is kind of backwards. But yeah, you're the first person that first got the title right and then liked it, because everyone's like, man, it's so long. What's going on? I think that it needs to be something that's slightly poetic, and I think it needs to be something that's descriptive without giving away too much, but should describe really what's going on with the music that's on the album, and I feel like a lot of the theme deals with letting go, and I feel like that needs to be reflected in the title. So, and each one of our titles has always had a story behind it, and sort of I feel like reflects and describes as aptly as it can without giving away too much. Again, what the music holds. So, it's we kind of felt like Finding Beauty was I'd set the bar a little higher there with that one, so I wanted to make sure that when I did this album that the title was going to be something that was at least competitive with the last one. So and now I've set a trend for myself, and now I'm screwed. So
I'm sure you can keep up with the trend. So the first single from the album, Country Song, it kind of knocked me on my ass. I have to say, I know that the title of it, Country Song, should have prepared me for like the twangy honky tonk kind of feel to it. But when I listened to it, I was like, wow, I really dug the finger picking that you guys put in there. And the rest of the album's pretty straight hard rock, that country feel from that first single. How did you guys choose to, or why did you guys choose to incorporate that? Where did it come about? Had something to do with Nashville? I don't know.
No, there was there was that sort of swampy riff has been around for a while, and we wanted we always wanted to incorporate that into a song somehow, and we just couldn't figure out how to do it before. But we never really restrict ourselves to a certain kind of thing, like a certain kind of sound, or it has to be a certain way. We do it in a way where it's like, okay, cool. If we can make that work and everyone likes it, then we'll put on an album. And it seemed to us to be an obvious first choice for a single because it just doesn't sound like anything else on the radio, which makes it better for us as a band to stand out amongst all the crap that's out there. And I mean, a lot of it to me is crap now, because if you can't tell the difference between different bands, then it's just like, well, then you're all just a lump of steam. Poo. And I mean, that might be harsh, but there are gems and there are great bands out there, and I just feel like if you're gonna follow what everyone else is doing, then it's crap. So, and and having said that, the bands that I like all sound unlike other bands that are out there at this point in time, and that's kind of why I like them, because I could discover them and I could find them because they didn't sound like everything else. So
What are some of the bands that you two are influenced by and that you're referring to?
I think a lot of bands. I'd say in terms of influences, it's probably a lot of older bands, bands that you grew up with when you were a teenager, and and then our drummer Johnny, our drummer Johnny, he's into the real old school, like 70s, 80s kind of stuff. But yeah, I think new bands. I think anything you listen to, ultimately, if you enjoy it, kind of, it'll influence you in some way. Not necessarily, like you're trying to emulate that, but I think it all has an effect on how you feel at the time and how you feel about music.
I'm like the naughty kid at the back of the class right now.
What's going on? I'm about to put you on timeout. What's going on over here?
It's about Sean. Can you beat that? Yeah, I know. Every day we honestly, we're a band. We never warm up. We never rehearse. We just don't give a shit, right? So it's funny. These other bands every day are like rehearsing and they're playing and they're warming up, and then you get the every day this warm up tape starts about 30 minutes before they set, and it's like, so I'm starting to get to know the tape so well. But it doesn't make it any less annoying, I mean, I understand for each singer it's a different thing. For me, it's a cigarette and a drink. That's how I warm up. But and having said that, when I don't have a voice 5 years from now, I'm like, oh, wag a finger.
Wait a minute. So you're telling me that you don't have any pre-show rituals, like you guys don't get in a circle and meditate?
We have an hour and 20-minute pregame that I believe you're cutting into right now.
Pregame.
You can film it if you want.
So, as far as your hobbies or what you guys are enthusiastic about, there's a rumor, I heard something about the drummer being a Kiss fan and collecting a bunch of the Kiss gear. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, our drummer does he does a bunch of he at one point I think had the biggest collection in the U.S. of Kiss memorabilia. But I'm more of a collector of, I like sort of more evil things. I guess Kiss would be considered evil back in those days, but I collect these things called living dead dolls, and I have a collection of about 50 or 60 now. And I think there's about over 100 now that you can get. So every time I'm in a comic book store or in a record store, that if they're still around, I'll find the living dead dolls that I don't have, and I'll send them home, and then my girlfriend gets real mad because she hates them. But I like little dead babies and little dead kids.
Well, that's cool. You should hit up comic book conventions because they always have a living dead doll set up there. How about you?
Wow. I guess I'm kind of lame. I don't really collect anything. I guess the closest I would come to is guitars. I've got a lot of guitars. But I guess we all do. After playing, in a band for many years, you just end up acquiring a lot of guitars, and I don't know. It's one of those things. I love guitars. I think if I were to really actively collect something and seek out really cool, rare stuff that was worth money, I think it would probably be guitars. But I'm not officially collecting anything.
Do you know off the top of your head how many guitars you might have?
No,
Wow, that many.
I'm not sure. It would have to be more than 30, I think. Yeah.
That's awesome. I've never met a guitar hoarder before. That's awesome.
I know you accumulate them and you don't even realize some that you have and you're like, oh, I remember that. And then I've still got some in South Africa that I bought before I left, and then there's some in the garage and there's some in the storage facility we have. I mean maybe it's way more than that. I don't know. Then every now and again you'll buy one and then you get one sent to you that people might want you to play, and so it's pretty neat. It's like in a candy store.
And you get attached, right? To your guitar.
I do. I'm very sentimental about stuff. Like it's often hard for me to throw things away. And not that I'm a hoarder. I'm at the same time I'm very ruthless.
I was just kidding about it.
I'm very ruthless about junk, but something like a guitar, it'd be very hard for me to sell it or give it away.
Curious, I'm really interested in the recording process and how that was different with this album than any of your previous albums, because you went to Nashville and that's one of my destination spots.
Nashville's a really friendly city. It's really cool. There's a good energy about it, and there's two very distinct sides. There's the countryside, and there's a younger, more sort of rock element coming into it as well, which is where we were kind of more associating ourselves with. I mean, the countryside is very much not something that, I mean, I don't like country music except for Kenny Rogers pretty much, but
Dolly.
And Dolly, of course. Dolly would be, Dolly's awesome. But I think that the energy was great because we had a great producer, and then we were all out of LA, and to be in LA is kind of a really like a cesspool sort of environment that you're in. And the fact that it takes you an hour and a half to drive 10 miles to get to a studio really pisses you off, right? So, and any given time of day, your commute is backwards and forwards, it's 3 or 4 hours. So, whereas in Nashville, you can get anywhere from one side to the other in 15 minutes, which is amazing. So, and I just think that, everywhere we went, everyone was cool, everyone was really friendly. There was no negative, energy coming in from the outside. So we could really turn it, focus on what we wanted to do as like from an internal aspect, rather than, okay, well, I'm pissed off now because that guy cut me off. I'm gonna write an angry song about it, And it was far more introverted this time. So, I mean, it was nice to get away from what I consider to be just a really bad place,
Well, I think that it shows in the album because you guys, it took a while to come out. It finally came out May 17th, and it debuted at number 2 on Billboard right out the gate. So congratulations for that. What can we expect from you guys in the future? I mean, what's going to happen? What are your plans for the rest of the year?
For the rest of the year, we're not doing too much. Going to take a little bit of time off. Got the odd show here and there in the States, but we're going to end the year off in South Africa. We got a big festival there on the 16th of December.
What's it called?
It's the Cape Town Bike Festival. So it's all like motorcycles, and they're going to have guys, chopper builders there, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of guys riding, and freestyle motocross, and the whole deal. So they're going to have that, and then in the new year we're going to go to all over, a lot of countries we haven't been to neither. Start off in like Australia and New Zealand and the Philippines and Thailand, and from there go to like Russia and all over, a lot of countries we've never got to visit, so that's going to be pretty exciting. But yeah, man, just a lot more touring, and just more of this.
A lot more.
More of these. More of these.
That's cool. Well, I hope you're having a good time at least.
Yeah, we're having a great time.
Great. All right, well, thank you guys for sitting here with me and hanging out with me. I'm really excited to see your set. You guys go on like at 7 or something? After
6:20 today, yeah. It's an early one.
What can we expect for tonight's live show? Any surprises? It's the last show?
No, not tonight. The official last one will be on Sunday, so tonight's like the penultimate show, but I guess we get to play a little bit longer tonight than we normally do. And it's just get drunk and play rock and roll. That's really all it is.
That's what it's all about. Thank you, Dale. Thank you, Sean. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you guys. Okay, let's wrap.